Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and we're back again with another Spirit Island video. The crowning achievement in this game is to beat a level 6 adversary. That's the maximum difficulty the designers intended, and that's no easy task. With this channel, I've always been looking for ways to make these peak difficulty games more approachable. Now I remember the first time I ever beat a level 6 adversary. I was playing as Ocean's Hungry Grasp against England 6. I remember it was during lunch break at work, using the app on my phone. That was on November 7th, 2021, 3 years ago today. After getting that first level 6 win, many more followed. I realized that I had been so intimidated by the threat of a max adversary that I wasn't even trying to play against them. Getting that first win boosted my confidence, and I started pushing myself out of my comfort zone more and more to take on higher difficulties with all spirits into all adversaries. In-game, I felt more at peace. You see, the more success you have in-game, the more peace and clarity of mind you will have as well. In hindsight, I realized that Ocean versus England is an incredibly strong matchup for Ocean, one of the best matchups in the game. But that didn't matter. The results were real. So today, on the 3-year anniversary of that game, I'm starting a new series called The Aces. The Aces is a series of games against every adversary using a low or moderate complexity spirit who has a very good matchup. The point here is to help you secure your first level 6 victory, which, as I said, is a huge confidence booster. Doing so with a low or moderate complexity spirit will give us the mental space to focus more on the interactions and mini-games with the adversary and focus less on the constraints of our spirit. If you love playing a particular high or very high complexity spirit, that's totally fine to get your first W with them. After all, I did too. But this series will showcase the least complex spirits possible. With all that intro out of the way, let's dig down into our first game. We're going to be playing against Brandenburg, Prussia 6. There is no spirit that reliably obliterates Prussia, and of all the adversaries, this one has the most variance. Prussia is the generic fast adversary. They have no additional loss condition, but since the invader deck is so small, running out of cards is functionally their LC. So what are we going to do? Here are 3 keys to beat Prussia. First, aggression. The initial Explore is a stage 3 card, meaning that half the island will be ravaging on turn 2. We must have a very aggressive opening to deny 2 blight on the first ravage, or else we'll flip the blight card immediately. We don't necessarily need to destroy things. We could push, we could defend, but we have to do something. We do not want to rely on a lucky event to bail us out. That's too unreliable to be successful. Second, fear. Prussia has the smallest fear deck at just 12 cards. Low fear spirits can struggle because they run out of time to close the game out, even if the board looks beautiful. On the contrary, high fear spirits do particularly good, since every fear produced is a higher percentage of a final fear victory. And third, back-to-back. Going from a stage 3 to a stage 2 invader card gives us a 50% chance of a back-to-back at the start of the game. But this is not necessarily a bad thing. When back-to-backs happen, the game will start to snowball either in our favor or against us. It is important that we have an aggressive opening to make sure that it snowballs in our advantage. In addition to the back-to-back from stage 3 to stage 2, there is also the coastal card. This can lead to a triple back-to-back situation. Therefore, all other things being equal, it is more important to control the coast at the start of the game instead of the inland. One of the best ways to handle a back-to-back is using Dahan. If we're able to fully clear a land and leave Dahan behind, the land will start to solve itself for free. Let's talk through a progression for a back-to-back in land number 1. So let's say that we open up with something like, I don't know, Wetland Jungle, but point is that it has wetlands. Second card is wetlands, and then third card is coastal. So we get the triple back-to-back here in land number 1. Well, if we're able to full clear this land on that initial ravage, so in this situation we have wetlands ravaging and wetlands building, if we're able to full clear it, then there is no build. Then we will explore, and going into the next turn, there will be an explorer and a Dahan in the land. Now, we don't have to take any actions. We just let this ravage happen, and the explorer will die to the Dahan. So the wetlands was in the ravage slot, and the coastal was in the build slot. Well, this solved itself during the ravage, and now there's nothing to build. So when this back-to-back happens, by getting ahead of it, we had our initial setup, and there was a lot of drama and activity there. But then, going into the wetlands ravage, there was only one land that we had to interact with. This required no actions. Then, going into the coastal turn, we only had 2 lands to worry about. We did not have to worry about this land again. By shrinking the amount of lands that we have to deal with, we're able to invest excess actions into them, and it lets us get farther ahead of these other perilous lands. So with all these keys to victory in mind, today's ace is the Eyes Watch from the Trees. Eyes is capable of reliably stopping 3 of the 4 starting lands from blighting, and it produces a lot of free fear from its innate. By leveraging Dahan, it is stellar at handling these back-to-back situations like we were just talking about. I normally don't put too much weight into board selection, but one thing that I do find is important is making sure that we can get 2 Dahan into land number 3 for the first ravage. It doesn't show up right here, but Prussia does start with an additional town in land number 3. Because of this disease, in a coastal situation, it is actually land number 3 that hits the hardest. This ravages for 6, 4, and 3. Therefore, we want to make sure that we have access to 2 Dahan in this land so that we can maximize the strength of our counterattack, and that will help us in any of these back-to-back situations. This is available on most boards. The ones we want to avoid are going to be boards D, F, and H. But any of the other 5 either have 2 Dahan in this land, or they have a Dahan in 3 and then an adjacent Dahan that we could pull in. So maybe you're not a fan of Eyes Watch from the Trees. That's okay. There are some other great spirits that I would recommend in the low to moderate complexity range. First would be Shadows Flicker Like Flames. The best version of Shadows is Darkfire. If you don't have Nature Incarnate, any other version will work as well, but Darkfire is certainly the best version of Shadows. Some other spirits, we can come on over here. Sharp Fangs Behind the Leaves has a different playstyle, very aggressive, attacking as opposed to defending, but he is fantastic. Many Minds has a similar Dahan and Defend playstyle, and then Thunder Speaker is a nice blend of both offense and defense. All 3 of those will work very well for you. So anyways, with all that being said, let's showcase Eyes Watch from the Trees against Prussia 6. Alright, we are starting off with the Sands and the Mountains. So the Sands in land number 3 is the most dangerous land, the most important for us to gain control over at the start of the game. And so the only way we'll be able to defend it is with this Boon of Watchful Guarding, because it'll be ravaging for 6. Now, because we're playing the Boon of Watchful Guarding, that does not have a moon, and so we will not be able to hit that defend 4, most likely, and so we will probably not be able to defend the 2. This will probably be the land that we have to give up. And we can defend either the 5 or the 7 using our innate. Then we could use one of our powers to clear up the other one this turn as well. So this first turn is the turn that we are the most likely to get a back-to-back. If we get a Mountains, a Sands, or Coastal, 3 out of the 5 options, we have a back-to-back. That's a 60% chance. The other time that we have a very good likelihood of a back-to-back is going from the 2 into the 3. But because of the fact that we've already pulled a stage 3 card out, depending on what the 2 is, let's say this is a sands or a mountains, it is that much less likely for a back-to-back here. So on this first turn, we really want to be considering everything. We want to think about all the different possibilities that we have in front of us. So if we get a sands back-to-back, to shortcut, I'm going to recommend playing Eerie Noises. And the reason is that because it is a slow power, we have the time to see what the invaders are doing and then react accordingly. So if we get a sands back-to-back, we can push out the Explorer and Town out of this 5, so that way it solves the Ravage, and then going into the turn thereafter, it's only going to be hitting for 2. It's not so bad. If we were to get a Mountains back-to-back, right, we could push out an Explorer Town from the 7, leaving it exactly like it is here. Then it will clear itself, and then we only have 1 land to deal with on the subsequent turn. And if we get something else, we can use the Eerie Noises for value anywhere. We could even, let's say we get Wetlands, we could push this into the 5 and then choose to take 2 Blight, defending here. And then even though we take 2 Blight on the first Ravage, we have a dramatically easier second turn, and it gives us a smooth ride into the stage 2s. But being able to wait and see what the invaders are doing before we play Eerie Noises is just to our benefit. Now we do have another slow power, and I like playing this card as well on the first turn, just because, particularly on a board like board B, where we have these 2 Dahan up here stranded, if we really don't need the card, we can just pull Dahan into the 6 and get them more into the game. But there's a lot of situations we're going to really wish we had it. One thing in particular is over here, we want to get 3 Dahan in order to do a full counterattack and fully clear this land. If we get a back-to-back in the sands and we only kill the City Explorer, it's going to be back-to-back 6 damage Ravages. So it would be very nice for us to be able to have a better time handling this Ravage. By using Whisper Guidance, we can pull this Dahan in, and then when we defend, we use our special rule to pull the Dahan in all the way. Nice big counterattack, and then we're in a much, much happier place. We'd be looking at, we use Eerie Noises here, and then we'd be looking at Explorer Town, much easier to deal with. So yeah. Anyways, also we get the opportunity to draft a card now. So another piece of unknown information is going to be front-loaded. Then when we see what the invaders do, we can really piece it all together. Quicken the Earth Struggle is a elite defend card. It's very, very strong. Fleshrot Fever. Against Prussia, this card is pretty solid. Let's say that we had played it. There was a disease here in this land, then land number 5 would not blight. That would be really nice. Steam Vents. It's kind of like a potentially better version of Mysterious Abductions, but considering how we're kind of hurting for Earth, it's unlikely we're going to use it for a town, and Visions of Fiery Doom is very much the same thing. I think we're going to take this Quicken the Earth Struggle here. It's nice to have a second elite defend card, besides Boon of Watchful Guarding. We can G2, set ourselves up anywhere on the board, and drop a Quicken, drop a Boon, and we're not going to be as likely to fall into a Reclaim loop. Okay. We're going to just pull a Dahan into the game. That way, if we choose to use Whispered somewhere in the coastal side of the board, we are still one step closer to engaging all of our Dahan. We get the back-to-back on the mountains. Especially since we picked up this Quicken, we are very strong here in the 8. We already have a Sacred Site. So I'm going to drop my extra town in this land. And certainly this Eerie Noises, we're going to push this out. The land will clear itself, and we're down to 1 land for the next turn. So we could do like, we could grow into here with a boom, we could grow into here with a quicken, and then we can, you know, take one blight and we'll be better off from there. In order to get all of our Dahan engaged, I'm going to use my Whispered Guidance Through the Night, as we talked about before, just pulling this Dahan in. We could choose to bring more Dahan in, so that way when the mountains does its counterattack, we have a bigger counterattack here. It is a marginally more central, like the 3 has really bad adjacencies, only 2. Whereas this has the extra access to the wetlands. So I could see this being the right play. If we do this, then we could actually choose to defend the 2, give up on the 3, and then we have completely free and clear next turn. And we could choose to go for a scaling turn. I like that a lot. We could use this Mysterious Abductions, pick up a wetlands, pick up jungles, and it'll help us out in the sands. So I actually like that quite a bit. So we're going to play these 2 cards. We'll just get ourselves up to 2 energy. This is functionally a 1-cost card. And it's good to have Sacred Sites all around. But we have to play these 2 in order to hit our 2 defense innate in order to protect the 5. Of course, we don't really have a good use for Mysterious Abductions this turn. Maybe we'll just pick you off. Ooh, that lack of a Sacred Site. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll make a Sacred Site here in the 4. By just changing where we add that 0. Everything still works the same. Okay. Because we played the 2 slow cards on turn 1, it gave us the opportunity to react to this back-to-back, and that is what's going to make all the difference in this game. Ooh, remove an Explorer from Inland Land. This is going to die anyway, so we can pick up the Explorer off of this, and then if we do get a Sands back-to-back, it'll be a smaller Ravage, and we'll be much better off. Okay, now we're going to escalate. We could just choose to add the town here, and then maybe do like a G3, creating a Sacred Site in the 2 and utilizing our Quicken. That might not be a bad idea. Just pick up the free fear when we have the nice opportunity. On Reclaim, we can then Quicken in the 8. Ooh, an Entrancing Apparitions is a very interesting card. We could use that to pull the Explorer out of this land and just keep the game nice and small. None of these cards are particularly compelling. Scour, you know, adding the Blight doesn't make sense. It's most efficient here in the 8, but we've already got this land covered, no problem. Teeming Rivers, we have no Blight in any of the qualifying lands. But Entrancing Apparitions does give us value on the board. So here's the thing with Prussia, right? It is so fragile. You know, because we came out so aggressively at the start of the game, now they're kind of just tripping on themselves. And the smallest, simplest, this card's considered kind of weak by a lot of people. Those kinds of cards are now just able to allow us to get more time to scale up. When we Reclaim, we're going to be on 2 and 2 with the free element. We're probably going to look to go into a major, and we can grow across top track and start, you know, hitting the 3 where we have a little bit of trouble, right? Only 2 lands really exist, so we're in a very comfortable position is what I'm trying to say. We even get the benefit of, because of the Ravage, we kill off those little Explorers. It makes a nice little difference. Well, We don't care about this entrancing apparitions anyways. We might as well just forget it for a free proliferation. I was kind of hoping to not get any particularly broken event like this. I guess we could choose to just go top and make this a more normal game. 50% chance of getting a free blight, I'm fine with. And it might be like, well, in a real game, you'd want to forget this entrancing apparitions. For teaching purposes, I think we're just going to let the land wither. Yeah, and we got a free blight. Bah, humbug. We'll be okay. I don't want to have a game explicitly for teaching purposes where, it feels cheap, like we just got a free win. Okay, we're going to stick with our game plan, gain a major, forgetting this entrancing apparitions, though it is worth noting that entrancing apparitions is still good if we were to target the 5, or perhaps target the 4 and gather this explorer out and keep it only to 1 land on this next turn. I guess it comes down to what we gain here. Sea Monsters is a strong card. We have a wetlands and a coastal land are the two. With built-up invaders, Sea Monsters is effective in both of those situations. Force of Living Obsidian. Basically 2 damage to everything. Basically kills all the towns, kills 1 city at range 0. That's a very strong effect for us. Right? We could use it here. We could use it... We could grow into this land and then use it here. Smothering Infestation is decent. The only reason I don't like it is because it doesn't do anything for the 3. So I think we're going to take Sea Monsters, although Sea Monsters does put a lot of pressure on our energy is the only reason I'm hesitant. And it can be a little... I'm going to take this Force of Living Obsidian. It's 1 point cheaper, and I think it is good enough for our needs. It's going to take several builds, 2 builds specifically, before we get a second city. So we have enough time to get out there and use this Force of Living Obsidian. I do think I'm going to use this Entrancing Apparitions. So let's get rid of Mysterious Abduction. Just play the same 2 cards right back. It's fine by me. Or do we want to get 1 out each direction? I think getting 1 out each direction is probably better. So we'll do here, here, and here. Defending and gathering like so. Okay, we can replace an Explorer here in the 4 and we'll still be fully defended. There is no fear card that can increase the damage and make things work for us. Every single fear card is strictly positive or useless. And now we get a free push. We can kick the Explorer out of the 4. So we could kick the town out of the 2, move that into the 3. The only problem with that is that if a Sands were to appear here, then the Force of Living Obsidian would be too slow. A second city would be built. So I think we're just going to kick the Explorer into the Sands. It'll die to Living Obsidian. We gain access to a Ravish Skip, but we are happy with our situation. If we were a little bit deeper down the fear deck, I would say that killing the city, leaving the towns alive, would be a good idea. However, we're nowhere close to a terror level 3, so let's just reduce the total quantity of invaders for now. Maximize the full damage. Okay, the Sands are still inactive, so I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to come in here, defend with the Boon of Watchful Guarding, and then defend the 1 just to bring this Dahan in coming out of the mountains. Definitely want to be pushing for more energy, so that way the Force of Living Obsidian becomes more playable. And I want to drop a Sacred Site for the same exact reason. I want to go here. I'm going to choose to go bottom, because we don't care about either element. Well, I guess I could go for moon and then go boon. No, go here, we'll go up to 5. Forests, pay for the boon. So if we take the moon, then we can use forests to kill everything in this land. Yes. That seems good. Pay 1 to defend. I'm not going to worry about bringing a Dahan in. Oof. That is bad for us right here. With this line, there wasn't a good way to play around that, unfortunately. We could choose to take the transformation here because of this corner city, and I think that's worth it. It makes our situation much worse here, but that's okay. Okay, skip the next normal, explore. So now we have a little bit of relief from pressure. Fantastic. Only 2 lands. We could just choose to reclaim, and we have 2 good-sized defend cards. We have the Quicken, and we have a defend 8 from the boon in order to stop all of this. The only problem with that is that's not super proactive. If we reclaim, gain a minor, I'm very happy with this Forest of Living Obsidian, and so I am quite interested in drafting cards for matching elements, such as this Unquenchable Flame. Unquenchable Flame, Forest plus Quicken puts us a sun short. I don't know how many cards there are with those 3 elements. It seems like an uncommon triple, though Unquenchable Flames is a strong card in general. If only we had that unique that we forgot with the moon and the plant. We'd be able to kill off and explore, defend this for 4, be in a good position. I think just doing this is mediocre, but gets the job done. Probably do a double defend here in land number 4 to get more Dahan in. Kill off both of these cities. Down to a coastal land adjacent to a coastal town. Okay, we'll put that here in land number 3. Because now we're not so worried about the extra city coming up from a build, because we can pair the Unquenchable with the Forest. I'm almost guaranteed to just double grow into the 3, play both of those cards on this next turn. Ooh, we get a free Dahan up here in the 8. This is great. This will full clear the land and make a pocket. Just, I mean, it only eliminates this wetlands, but we're at the point of the game where we need to, start closing out. This strife is going to be irrelevant. And because Prussia is so fragile, it is very open to getting a pocket. A pocket, in case you're not aware, is when you deny a source of explorers. You have to either be adjacent to the ocean or adjacent to any building to create an explorer and send them out. It's very difficult to do, but we now have no access to this wetlands, no access to this jungles, and it makes it very likely for us to get away with something. Yep, as long as it wasn't... actually, the Sands Mountains is right here, so... That means we were guaranteed some return in value. Okay, we are nearing the end of the game. We have very little time left. So we have only fast, a slow, and a fast again, and then the game ends. So we have all these slow cards. Time to go use them. With every single land being active. Now, we have to start to pick and choose what we actually care about here. What we're trying to do is get a little bit more fear to get ourselves up to terror level 3. There will be no city in the 1. There will be no city in the 7. We do not care about them. All we care about is the 2 and the 4. Because these Dahan are way the heck out in no man's land, it's quite likely that they don't find their way back into the game. But if we were able to get a second Dahan here and a Dahan here, we could win during the Ravage. To handle the 3, though, as we previously alluded to, we're going to want to do a Forest's Unquenchable. And I think I want to go across the bottom track to also get this Whispered Guidance into play. You have just enough energy for all of that. And this Whispered Guidance we could use to bring 3 Dahan over. So we can get our 2 Dahan here, and we can then bring them over, defend, bring it over, and we will have the ability to get 2 Dahan into both of these lands. Okay, great. There is no Ravage, so we don't need to worry about that. We do get a little bit of a slow to fast. Ooh. By playing Whisper Guidance now, we're pretty much guaranteed to do it this way anyways, but we do pick up an extra fear card, and if we were to get rid of some of these towns via a fear card, we'd be in a great position. I kind of want to let this land build up just because it produces more fear, so we're going to slow to fast this Whispered Guidance. Well, I guess we don't get a city. That does make things marginally easier in the 2. And all of this stuff that just explore, we just don't care about any of it. I guess maybe I should have added this as one more thing in Prussia, is we're very regularly going to be in this situation where we just need to get our butt across the finish line. There's a lot of stuff that just does not matter. We don't need the Unquenchable in order to full clear this land, so we'll just, go without. Only 1 city left. We will use our Unquenchable here. There is a possibility that an event could fuck it all up for us. So I am going to... we could use Quicken, do 1 damage to every building in the land, use the Badlands for an extra damage in the 4, and that can be how we win. So this is just really for fun. Walls of Rock and Thorn is another damage card that we could use to full clear the 4. Just like a Walls of Rock and Thorn plus a Boon of Watchful Guarding. That'll get us across the finish line without any opportunity for risk of a event screwing things up for us. So, congratulations, we did it. We got across the finish line. And I'm happy that we were able to not do it in like a cheating way with that Years of Little Rain. That would feel a little cheap to me. Be like, oh yeah, you just have to have, one of the best events in the game pop up for you. That's the key to victory. So let's do a quick review of this game. Remember, we had our 3 keys. First off was aggression. Oftentimes with spirits, you could go for like a higher energy, lower card plays opening, where you grow across top track, or the opposite, where you have less energy but more actions. And in this game, we went for 2 card plays right off the bat, right? That is a much more aggressive opening. And because we did that, we were able to gain control of the game quick up front. By doing that, we were able to, handle that back-to-back. That key 3, how do we deal with these back-to-backs? And Originally, my brain had been stuck on the idea of defending the 3, but then I had a moment of realization where we could just proactively defend the 2, and then we could start to try and snowball that advantage. And that line worked out fantastic. And then also fear. As we saw, if we were producing a little bit less fear, if we were a little bit lazy with our fear production, then we would have possibly not been at terror level 3. Imagine if we were in that position and we're still terror level 2. There was a lot of towns still left on the board. Two of these towns, and we had really no way of handling this wetlands. At least this one we could defend and get it in the Ravage, but this wetlands was going to be the reason why we lost. So, every little bit of fear counts. There's only 4 cards in the Terror Level 3, so we did not resolve a single Terror Level 3 card. We just barely got across that finish line. So I hope these keys to success are helpful for you. Prussia is, like I said, the most volatile of all the adversaries. It's the least reliable. You could play the same spirit on the same board over and over again, and you're going to have wildly different results. Sometimes it's just the cookie crumbles in a way that it makes it a lot harder, and sometimes you just get these free wins. So fear not. Sometimes the seed is just unwinnable, but you got to persevere, and I believe you'll be able to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a glorious day.